All right. Well, welcome and happy 4th of July weekend for those of you that live in the United States. And well, even for those of you that don't live in the United States, and if you do celebrate, like my father did, my father had like the largest American flag in this town that I grew up in Japan. And people were utterly confused why my father had the American flag up on the 4th of July weekend the whole time. So I'm always remembering, and we're still in school in Japan, and we go to school till end of July, and so I could see the American flag from my school campus, and I always thought, for some reason, I was proud. I have no idea. I had no idea what that was about till I came to this country. But there's this sense, as an immigrant, right? There's a lot that we can improve in this country. We all know that we can always improve anywhere you live. But I do love this country. I do. I love it being here. There's just so much to be grateful for being in the United States. And, I know there are a lot of others that are joining me. Tomorrow you'll be watching the recording from Europe and maybe other parts of Asia. But wherever you are, cherish the grounds that you walk on and the fact that you can be here live. I think that is the most important thing that I always come back to over and over, is that I have the privilege to be on this earth now, and I have the privilege to grow older and hopefully slightly wiser than last year. So happy 4th to all of you. And I wanted to get started. I think I'm going to do the tuning fork maybe in the midway. I was going to start with the tuning fork to tune everybody, but we will get there pretty soon after. Okay. So why don't we jump in by first kind of revisiting June for a little bit. July is a really nice month to revisit some things, and that'll come up again. But just to kind of go back to about a month, okay? June was a great month for reacquainting yourself with your own rhythm, the rhythm that was not all about other people's rhythm. So if you were doing the cleanse that I was in and the teaching that I was doing, and you're having to learn a lot of things, it might have felt a little bit exhausting and like restrained, or felt like it's just too much, because June was meant to be this year's June was meant to be a little bit more getting in touch with your own needs and your essentials and your own rhythm. Like, what time you wake up, what time do I go to bed, what time do I get hungry? A lot of those rhythms were being questioned. So if you did that cleanse with me, I have to be honest, it was really tough for me. By the end of it, I finally, I got a really good night of sleep, and I feel like I could start to relax. So I'm welcoming July. So if you've been feeling a little bit like that, you're on the right path and you're on the right track with it. That's what's great about getting back into yourself and reassessing it. It's like, oh, no wonder I felt like that. So if you felt like being pulled in everybody else's rhythm and everybody else's directions, then you're going to want to take a next couple of days to recalibrate. And your own unique life process might have kind of come up to surface. So it's like, where am I? What am I doing? Where do I shine? Where do I really want to put my energy to? So you are checking in with your own, not only the rhythm, but your foundations. So like putting in the foundation pieces for your home, the solidness, that's what you are getting connected with. Okay. So it's like, for you might be, I need the foundation of having good lunch every day, like simple thing like that. Or I need to go to bed by 10:30 in order for me to operate well tomorrow. These are the foundations. Or questions like, I got the questions last month on this. I drink. Well, I can't tell you how much water you should drink, because that is your foundation that you need to figure out, right? How much are you moving? Are you out there gardening in the middle of the heat? What are you doing? Okay. Do you have a lot of activities? All depends. So you are establishing your foundations. This is when I feel hydrated. This is when I don't. This is when I need more sleep. This is when I don't. Okay. Those things. And it's not the most glamorous, it wasn't the most glamorous month. Okay. It's not the month that you were like really having dance parties every night in the backyard. Okay. It was not a glamorous month. Did you feel that? It was just like, grunt work. Okay. But that's, yeah, the digging of the foundations. That's just not a most exciting part of building a house. Okay. If you've ever built a house or you've watched people build homes, it's just the most boring part. And you wonder as a neighbor, it's like, when are they going to get this done with? So that's what the June was. So if you felt that, well, welcome to July. Okay. This July is, every July is different every year, but this July feels a little bit slow in starting. Part of it is because we're starting out with the full moon, and that's kind of nice, actually. When you start the month with full moon, it's like you get to start with the fullness. You already get to start with, enough. Okay, enoughness, fullness. I am content, so can we just get this started slowly? Okay. July overall is going to feel what I was tuning into. It's like a little bit of oscillating month is what I wrote. It's gentle though. It's very gentle. So you're not going to get thrown off too much. It's more of a swaying than like roller coaster or a huge swing, that when you're swinging, makes your gut feels like the air is pushing and you feel like, going down, and then makes you come back and then you feel the pressure in the back. It's not like that, but there will be a little gentle back and forth. But where do you feel that most is going to be in the relationships. So it's like a swinging doors in a restaurant. You announce that if you've ever worked in a restaurant, I worked in a restaurant, Chris worked in a restaurant. You have to announce yourself, right? Coming in, or, I'm here, or something like that, so you don't bump into each other. So a little bit of announcements are going to happen in your life too. So some people announce themselves and say, I'm out. Okay. Or I'm coming in, but it'll be gentle and it'll just be a very balancing. So you won't feel completely empty or too much. So enjoy kind of like a surprise meetings or unexpected beginnings, meeting people who you thought you were never going to meet, but you ended up meeting, new encounters, and immediately you make kind of friends with that new person. But then you end up saying goodbye to someone that at work that maybe she or he, decides to move out of state or something like that, and you have to say goodbye to. Okay. Things like that. So it's going to clear away from past partners and people that maybe limited you, and then limiting you from doing exactly what you're meant to do on this earth. They may just kind of go away this month, just gently, so you don't have to try too hard. And in fact, it was funny today, Chris and I were at the art show here in Colorado, and we haven't been to an art show in I don't even know how long, Chris. It's like over a decade. We don't go into crowds. But I felt like it. We're doing so much better physically since we've been balancing our hormones so much better. I recommended that we go to the art show. It was a beautiful day. And I ended up talking to several artists that were originally from Japan. And there's this one really fabulous artist that lives in Florida. All of a sudden, we just connected like immediately. So they were saying, she and her husband were saying that they're staying here till Thursday. And she was asking like, where should we go to visit in Colorado? And I said, 4th of July traffic. It's so awful. So I just spontaneously said, hey, would you like to come to our house? And just have some tea with us, and Japanese tea, and get together. She's like, yes, that'll be great. And I said, well, we can see fireworks from our house, so come on over. So, right, surprise encounters, new creative, co-creative friendships and people that you might actually meet. So there'll be kind of a slight in and out of it. Okay. So it'll be refreshing also. And, I can't sense that like this month's encounters are like lifetime friendships, but it's exactly what you just need right now, kind of a people. Okay. So they may not be in your life forever, but it's a nice, refreshing, kind of different vibrations. They will bring a different energy to your house also. Okay. So, I know we probably don't do that much in this most of the world anymore. You encounter somebody, say, hey, do you want to come over? We're very concerned about meeting new people, but I think this month, if you're called to, if your heart feels open to that, this will be a really good month to do that. Okay. And like I said, you won't feel empty by losing because you will have an exchange of flow. Okay. But it's a very slow motion, slow swaying. So it will be less whiplash like kind of a month, which is really welcoming, isn't it? And, but here's the thing, when we begin to lose some of your maybe friends or coworkers or maybe even a neighbor, like a neighbor decides to move and then you're a little concerned, who's going to be moving in? Okay. These little worries can creep up if you're not aware that this is the month for those kind of little bit exchanges. So now that you're in this call, these fluctuations going to be happening, so you won't be worrying too much about it. But too much worrying can be really hard on your heart. Okay. So heart is a big piece of July that I want you to pay attention to. It's like, how am I taking care of my heart? Because too much worrying can actually, in yogic language or Ayurveda language, some of you might have heard the word gunas. Gunas, a Gunas, is just because they're plurals. Okay. Guna means qualities of your life. So different qualities of your life will enter. One of the qualities that can come in when you worry about too many things, okay, it's called tamastic or tama or tamo, Tamo, and tamastic. That's kind of an English word, isn't it? Tamastic, tamastic, okay, or tamo or tamas guna. So tamastic quality is really like when you're worrying too much, it starts to shut you down. You get very weighted down. You get too grounded. You start to like get stuck in a mud. That's that guna. Okay, that is that quality that it can come into your heart center when you worry too much. Okay, and that can be really exhausting to your system. Okay, so one of the things that you can do in July is to be sure to focus on magnesium. And I will probably hand it over to Chris so he can kind of briefly talk about it. And he just wrote a blog on magnesium also, so he can share that with you. But the magnesium orotate is great. Taurinate, we actually brought some of the ones that we take. These from Zorex. Okay, magnesium taurinate. We use magnesium orotate. Okay, these are really good for your heart. And also, I brought magnesium gel. Trace Elements makes really good minerals, right? So I use Trace Elements liquid minerals drops for my water. Okay, but this is a gel kind, and you can put it on the bottom of your feet or calf area, and these don't get itchy at all. So I really like this one, the Trace Elements one. Okay, and you could put it under your feet because your feet have a lot of these like nerve endings and abilities to pull into the rest of your body. So it can impact your heart gently. Meaning it can relax your heart. So these are some nice ways to increase the magnesium intake. Magnesium can get lost. And I intuitively felt that the July was an important month to address magnesium. But magnesium has a really important partner called potassium. Okay. So we also use potassium HP. Right? This is the powder form. So, you want to aim for about 1 scoop. That's like a 1 teaspoon. And 1 teaspoon is going to give you about 4.8 grams of potassium that is mixed with magnesium. Can you see that? With magnesium. Okay. Because they support one another. So it's a great way to absorb. Okay. So magnesium and potassium, those are good things. Chris, I will hand it over to you if you want to mention something about magnesium.
Yeah. I'll just say that for very physical reasons, summertime is hot. It's putting a lot of pressure on our systems. We're sweating a lot. And one thing you want to remember with magnesium is that it's something that really helps us deal with stress of any kind. So if you've listened to any of our talks and calls over the last few years, you've heard us repeat this, that our bodies don't distinguish between different types of stressors. So in the summertime, you're probably getting physical stress from heat in particular on top of whatever your normal life stressors are. So I'm going to put into the chat right now a link to the blog post that I just put it up a little over maybe 2 weeks ago on our website. And in that, you'll find that there's a link. It's about magnesium. It's about all the different functions that it has, from bone health and muscle function, nervous system, energy production. It does all of these things. Plus, it's also important for the heart, which Masami has been talking about. And for a day like today, where we talked about being out in the sun in this very crowded space for this arts festival, that's something that we need to make sure we replenish our magnesium levels, because again, physical heat, sweat, being in a crowd, all of those things create stress responses. And so we need to replenish that magnesium. One last thing I wanted to point out, if you do click that link, there is a form there where you can sign up to get our PDF that I put together about magnesium and the different forms. You just saw Masami mention about 3 different forms of magnesium. One was magnesium orotate, one was magnesium taurinate. Those are both very important for slightly different reasons. And if you go into this PDF, it will tell you more information about how to apply these different forms for different needs of the body. So that's a little bit of a primer on that. And I just invite you to check it out. It's fascinating to me. Magnesium is one of the most commonly deficient minerals in the population, and it's one of the most important for aging, for hormone health, for mental health, for physical well-being in your body overall. You can't really, there are few other minerals that have that many jobs in their portfolio. So I'll hand it back to you, Masami, and yeah, I'll come back on a little bit later.
Okay, so this month, July, please don't hit the ground running. Okay. Some Julys feels like, okay, we get to hit the ground running, but it's not like that this month. It's like, just don't go too much. Okay. Don't be too strong at it. Don't go too fast. Don't make it too difficult. So anything that has like a two something, see if you could avoid that. Okay. Ready? Can you hear that? Okay. That's F. Okay. Can you get that? Okay. I want you to make that sound on your own. Okay. All right. You can go lower, you can go higher on a scale, but I want you to make that F sound, because that is the sound of the heart. Okay. So when you're doing the Om, we're going to do the Om sounds with that again. Okay. So okay, I'm doing the same one. Okay. Okay, so let's all of us, okay, you don't have your microphone on, but that's okay. You're just gonna go, oh no, I got that wrong sound. Well, that's pretty high for me. Okay, so shall we do it again 3 times? Ready? Breathe in and I'm talking, so I can't do it long. One more time. All right. I cannot do it long today for some reason, but that's okay. Did you get that sound, everybody? Good? Okay. All right. So that's the sound that tone is going to be very helpful in July. And if you're always used to doing ohms at different pitch and whatnot, I recommend you, okay, to go back to that tone. And I'm going to change the microphone back, I think. I don't know. Oh, here's audio setting.
Can I just say really quick, Masami, about the voice and how important the voice is in this whole process? Is that a good time?
Yes, please. And then is my microphone back on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you sound good. Yeah, so the sound is something that I wanted to mention this. We were going to introduce this on this call, and I've been using this method called quantum sound therapy. And some of you on this call, I noticed there's several of you actually that have had a sampling of this with me. And feel free to put in the chat if you want to share some of your thoughts on that. But one of the things that is so important about these tones and your voice is that it's triggering something that is healing on a very deep level. And, Masami was mentioning about how July, this transition from June to July could feel kind of like this oscillating handoff. And I can tell you for me personally, as we got toward the end of June, I felt this, it was almost just like this pressure or constriction in my diaphragm. And I had to remind myself to go back and listen to the frequencies. I actually had to go back and re-record a new set for myself of this quantum sound therapy process. And the whole basis of this, first of all, I just want to announce it formally here. This is really the first time I've put it out publicly, that I'm offering these sessions for those of you that would like to try this. It's a very powerful way for you to touch into the much deeper and subtler energies of your voice. And this quantum sound therapy works on the multiple octave ranges of the human voice. And it also produces a scalar level wave, which involves the physics, the quantum level physics, and the frequencies of your own voice. And so those things work on you at a very deep level in your nervous system. They help with the anxiety and the stress relief. You can see here what Masami put up on the screen. It really does help with these things. When I started playing these frequencies back to myself, it was almost immediate. My focus was better. My mood was better. My sense of being tuned into myself was so much more heightened that I was able to benefit and boost my energy and feel this turning that I needed to feel to release that tension. And so this is a powerful practice, and it works in a number of different ways. You can work on something that I call the mother sounds, which are activating the vowel sounds that really deeply come through your system. And that's sort of the foundation level. But you can also operate on the level of affirmations and blessings and prayers. And those of you that have tried this out with me got to sample some of that. And that's what I actually used for myself, was a kind of affirmation which I needed to be reflected back through me from my own voice. But it's actually not your voice that comes back. It's an encoding of your voice that's packed with these quantum waves and vibrations that actually help to realign and reorganize and declutter your system. And so one of the things, you can go and check out this page at any time and read more about it, but this is a very powerful tool. It's very subtle, as I mentioned. And one of the things about this is it's not something like what so many of us have learned about sound therapy. It is not a sort of gong bath or a spa music or meditation music or anything like that. It's almost like it's a welcome, it's a challenge, it's a kind of soothing at a deeper level that we don't usually connect with because we're not paying attention to or connecting with our voices this way. And it really does tap into the aspects of healing that really can truly only come from our own voice. That's one of those things. The foundation of our own voice is such a strong place to begin healing from. So maybe that's enough to say for now, Masami, and just so you all know, we'll mention later, we're throwing out some specials just for the 4th of July holiday here. And I'm actually offering this at a very special price right now, which you can check out. It's almost half price for a 30-minute session. And this is just a really powerful way for you to come away with a recording that you can use for about 3 weeks, 4 weeks at a time, and then freshen up and start with a new one that's very timely and of the moment about a month later. So this is a really great way for you to bring your own energy as kind of like a mirror and also an amplifier for the energy of healing and growth and expansion that's going on in your own system. And Sue, thank you for that comment. I'm just going to read this really quick. Sue did a session and she said, I was able to use quantum sound to actually help me step forward with a few big things I had taken on in May and June and helped me focus and get more clarity so that my steps were more meaningful. Thank you for that, Sue. And I found the same thing that within, I mean, in my case, it was within a minute or minutes when I could really feel that, oh, okay, I can do this. I can do this. So I invite you to come and check this. So I'll be running this introductory special price just until the 5th. And then it will change from there. But Please, if you're interested, click the link and let's get together. Anyway, I don't need to belabor that point. So I'll hand it back to Masami. Thanks for sharing the screen. And did you want to just run through these really quick?
Yeah, you're welcome, Chris. We weren't sure we were going to even go here at all, but I'm really glad Chris brought this up because I said to Chris, I said, you've got to do this quantum sound therapy. You know, and we had this old recording from like 6 months ago and we hadn't updated it. It's like things were getting so stagnant. And so I said, just record it, start listening to it. And he put a headphone. It's best to listen to it with the headphones, just so you know. It's okay on the background too, but headphone, use it during your meditation or just, it's like a recording is about 20 to 25 minutes. So you can use this as a meditation. But caution is that this is not a meditation music, everyone. This is a quantum sounds. So it's not like, please don't go into it thinking, this is going to be so lovely. And, you know, somebody's singing ohms and ocean sounds in the background. It's nothing like that. It truly taps into your subconscious mind.
It goes straight to it. It goes straight to it. And I want to say, I guess what I would also like to add to this is there's kind of a playfulness about this is what I'm finding. It really, I invite this in the session. And I think that this whole practice and using this technology actually invites a playfulness, and there's sort of a poetry about this. So I might even bring in some poetic elements. And that's why I also love the qualities of prayer and blessing, in addition to affirmation and those mother sounds, because it allows us to explore these different fields of our being and invite them in as open questions. Because when I listen to this, it brings it up in real time. It becomes real in me in real time as I'm doing this process and listening to the QST recording. So
okay,
I have a couple other things to mention. Let's just run through those.
And it's not affirmations. We're calling it the blessings now. So anyway, you can check out all the other deals, everyone. It's all here. We put it under the sales page. You can, get 15% off on full script. So you can buy those magnesiums if you like, but you can always just go to masamicovey.com. We're always posting things up there. You can find out about the quantum sound therapy here, or you can go to the sales page and find out. Okay. We didn't want to make this into kind of like a crazy sales call or anything, but I felt that we needed to introduce this quantum sounds for all of you because it's making a difference in our lives. And we've been hearing from all of you that have done it and the shifts that you've been making. So, okay, so let's move to now that we understand a sense of, okay, we're in July, but now let's go into the super full moon in Capricorn. Okay. And this moon is called the buck moon. And I find that so insightful, right? The natives, the original thinkers have named it as a buck moon. And it makes completely sense because July, and this is especially 7th universal year also, when you add the 2023 all together, 2 + 2 + 3 makes it a 7. And then this is the 7th month. So it's quite powerful. July 7th in Japan, we have a huge celebration in Japan. That's been going on for thousands of years in Japan, but this year it's going to be the 7th universal year, 7th month and 7th day. So it's going to be quite powerful. If you have some quantum level, universe level wishes, that's the day you actually write the wish. And in Japan, we write it on a nice piece of paper that we create and put a bow on and everything. And then we find a bamboo, bamboo, help me, Chris.
Like a branch or
That's the word. Yeah, bamboo branches, and we actually hang it like Christmas trees. And that's actually what we do on July 7th. So kind of think of it, it's like, what am I wishing for, right? I don't talk a lot about manifestation and wishes, but July 7th is a very powerful date to do that. Okay. And so the buck moon, bucks shed and regrow their antlers each year. Okay. And they produce actually a larger one and more impressive sets as the years go by. So it's kind of really important that July is the time to shed, but know that you're going to be growing even more impressive and larger antlers. So trust that shedding process, because I think a lot of us don't shed because we're afraid that if I shed this one, nothing's going to come of it, or nothing is going to amount to anything. So you don't get rid of it. Okay. But get rid of things. Okay. And So I think this is a good time to write down this question for yourself. What have I shed, and what are things that I'm regrowing, okay, into a better version of it? So what am I shedding and what am I regrowing? Okay. And how's that going to look like? And it's going to be a bigger and better in some cases. Maybe it's a smaller and more precise. Who knows? But bigger doesn't always mean bigger in size. Okay.
So Masami, really quick, I just have to say the image of this buck shedding the antlers is so powerful, because I know for myself, I have a tendency, if I am shedding something, it's almost like I have a tendency to feel like I failed at it. Like, oh, well, that's over. That didn't work out. And I just was sort of laughing as you were saying this, because I was imagining these young bucks that are shedding their horns. And if they have that feeling or attitude, well, I guess I'm never going to grow horns again, that would be a very different life for them. And so how amazing is it that we get to regrow stronger and better and more functional, more essential in our lives. I don't know. I just had to comment. That's such a powerful image.
It is. It is. So enjoy that this month. Kind of the same swinging doors at the restaurant. Okay. You're just kind of shedding certain things and waiting for new things to come in. Okay. And this particular moon, I really felt like this is going to be a natural and great equalizer. It's because equalizing the year, but also it's very much energetically, it's equalizing what it used to be and what's coming. Okay. So think of that bucks. Okay. They're shedding what they came in and what they grew, and then they're letting go. Okay. And remember that the moon illuminates deeper, more of a subconscious and your unconscious influences. So we're being influenced 90 to 95% of who we are being influenced through these underneath the water, that deep part of the iceberg. Okay. That's what the moon is shining. So the interpretation of the moon is very different than the sun and the sun signs. So moon is influencing the Capricorn, and Capricorn is also influencing the moon. But number one, you want to look at kind of I don't like to call it the shadow side of Capricorn per se, but the challenging side of the Capricorn. And it's nothing to do with whether you're a Capricorn or not. Okay. This influences all of us, all across everywhere. Okay. So these are some of the things I want you to look at. So Capricorn's traits, some of the strengths and positive strengths that they have are they're very hardworking. So Capricorn brings out the hardworking in us, honesty, directness, persistence, the ambitiousness of Capricorn, feel responsible and follow the rules. And, it's like, I got to get this done. Right. But what the moon does is that it illuminates that 90-95% of that traits and say, well, why do you have that kind of traits? What is pushing behind that scene? So the challenging, let's call it the shadow side of it, of that this moon is going to shine on us. It's our own cynical minds, or feeling like, oh, nothing's going to work out. I'm just going to be stuck anyway. No matter what I do, it's not going to make any difference. Or being very stubborn about success and saying, I have to get this done so that the world will appreciate me. If I don't do this, nobody's going to, notice that I'm this and this and that person. It's like, so you can get into workaholic mode with it, hard working, but you can get into the mode of like never taking time off. Oh, I mean, I'm just saying it to myself, really, demanding so much work on myself. Yeah, it's discipline. I'm a very disciplined person, but I'm demanding way too much out of myself. And then that creates cynical feelings towards everybody, including myself. Right. So, or the focus can become so outward success oriented. That's what's driving you to do more and more and more. So that's what the moon is actually shining a light on. What's driving you? Okay. What's making you not trust the process? Because the Capricorn energy can become like, I have to do it. If I don't trek this mountain by myself with my own efforts, I'm never going to get anywhere. So you stop trusting the process. You stop trusting others. You can get very suspicious of other people and suspicious of any of the process. Okay. So that's what this moon is trying to say. Are you trusting this process? Are you able to relax into it a little bit more? So this is when you want to ask the questions of like, check in with yourself, and what are you making the standards to be your self-worth? Okay. Is your self-worth based on what's in your bank account? Is your self-worth based on what your zip code is? Where do you live? I mean, all those things. Okay. And then asking your questions about, like, am I getting too austere? Like, am I getting too serious about this? I know, Sue, you've started to do your own things in Facebook group and all these fabulous things. But are you getting too rigid with it and say, I have to do this every week? I have to have something to say every week. Well, maybe the moon's like, you know what? It's okay if you post it every 10 days. It's no big deal. That is not going to define your success or your failure, something like that. So soften up a little bit around, particularly this next week or so, but this month, soften it up a little bit. Okay. Sometimes we could get very addicted to the outward success, and we forget to stop and say, oh, wow, I've done a great job. I need to cherish myself. I need to compliment who I am, compliment how far I've come. Look how many things I've posted already. This is fabulous. Maybe that's what you can write about. Softening up is what you can write about. Yeah. And, once again, when you're in the full moon light, getting illuminated internally, particularly this weekend into this coming week or so, because of the Capricorn influence, it's going to shine on the area that you're rigid around, sticking with schedules. If somebody calls you 2 minutes late on your Zoom call that you had it planned, you're just already fuming. Well, take a look at it. Why are you so rigid? Okay. Following the rules. Okay, that's all right. Following the rules is important, but do you have areas that you can maybe question the rules? Okay. Do you need to be perfect at everything you post every time you show up? No, you don't. But maybe that's where we get restrictive, and that's when we get cynical. That's when we get critical. And then we define success, particularly in the Western world. Success is always based on how many likes did you get? How many posts did you post? How many, you can fill the blank, right? So that's where the moonlight is saying, really, can you not just compliment yourself? Just the fact that you're here right now, that's a miracle in itself. And recognizing your efforts up to this point. And other things are like, ask for support, consciously take a break from trying so hard and efforting so much, and say, hey, maybe I will ask somebody else to post it for me this week or this month. Maybe I'll ask somebody else if they have something, or you can share somebody else's post and take a break. Things like that could be really, really, really good. So have an honest and caring conversations with the part of you that cannot do certain things either. Like, I have areas of my life that I just cannot do that thing. I just don't have the capacity or the energy to get it done. Then I just have to have an honest conversation with it and say, that's all right. I don't have to be a superhuman to do everything and check off everything. Okay. That kindness is a little bit important in Capricorn, because, if you know of anybody who's a Capricorn, or you are, you can get really hard on yourself. Okay. You can whip yourself with that little fishtail back there and get up the hill. Okay. So dip that fishtail in the little cool lake and ocean, and then cool down a bit. All right. That's kind of what the moon is saying to all of us. All right. All of us. This is not necessarily tied to the sun sign, but if you are Capricorn, you can really relate to that. Okay. Chris, you have anything to add?
Yeah, I was just about to jump in. I want to tie it back to the magnesium for a second, because all of those points that Masami just outlined about that need to step back, give yourself a little more space, a little more kindness, a little more flexibility. Well, it just so turns out that magnesium in the tissues of the body does just that. It actually signals the tissues to relax. It helps to signal the production of GABA, which is the neurotransmitter that tells your whole nervous system to just slow it down a little bit. And I can tell you that when I'm getting into that mode of being anything from that list Masami mentioned before, cynical, rigid, being too austere, being too self judgmental, just really not cutting myself any slack, or just getting into a mode. Years ago, I was obsessive about running. I was running every single day, pretty much, long distances. And that whole time I was depleting my mineral levels, especially magnesium and potassium. And so what I can tell you is the more that I drove that pattern, the more rigid I became, and the harder it was for me to turn away from it. And so that had some real lasting consequences on my physical health. Between Masami and me, I really created a lot of difficulties. And so magnesium is actually something that's, if it had a voice, I would imagine it saying something like, hey, it's okay. Just take a little bit of space. Just, take a breath, let it out, relax a little bit, and feel what else is here, because there's a lot more going on than this one thing that you're so focused on. So I just wanted to bring that back into the picture because it's so important, and we overlook that piece of it very easily as our minds kind of become a runaway train. But our minds and our brains also need the magnesium in order to have that sense of rest and relaxation.
Yeah, it's a really gentle, softening mineral that it's missing on almost everybody. And it's missing in the soil. So you're not going to get it from food much anymore. You can eat vegetables, you could get some magnesium, but you'll probably have to be eating 5 buckets of vegetables in order to get the magnesium that you need. And generally, you want to go about 5 times of your body weight in milligrams. So if you weigh 100 pounds, you need to probably take about 400 to 500 milligrams. Okay.
And the foods. So magnesium is everywhere in plants. It's basically like the chlorophyll molecule in plants has magnesium at the center of it, just like our blood has iron in the center of it. So in the hemoglobin, it's the same thing. So you can get magnesium from any plant food, any green food, but it's not always there as much as you need it. And what we've found is that the stress levels that we have correspond to what we call a high magnesium burn rate. And this is a very real thing physiologically. We burn through it because our stress is creating excess sugar in our bodies. So it's something that we have to replenish and supplement to actually keep up with the pace of stress in our lives and our bodies. So food is important. But we've found that for ourselves and virtually everyone we've worked with, that extra amount from supplementing is also necessary to stay healthy and thriving.
Okay. And then the magnesium, everyone take it on an empty stomach, evening, nighttime is better. Okay. Take it to bowel tolerance for a while, but the body changes. Okay. So don't freak out if your stools become too loose, back it off a little bit by, maybe 100 milligrams the next night and see if you could stabilize your bowel movements. But you do not want to take magnesium too close to food, because if there's any fatty acids, which you should be eating fatty acids in your diet, the magnesium can turn into soap-like forms, and they can actually block you from pulling the nutrients in, okay? And it can be really hard on your gut. The person, Lisa, says cacao tea has lots of magnesium. If you can handle cacao, try it, but the cacao is really high in oxalates, so I don't do well with oxalic foods that are really high in oxalates. So I cannot do cacao, but if you can do that, maybe give that a try, like Lisa's saying. Okay, and then I'm moving on because I'm looking at the clock. So especially this during the full supermoon, take a look at what you feel like there's a richness of life, right? Because that's what the Capricorn is looking for. It's like wealth and success and abundance. That's what they're looking for, right? That is the energetic fields it's pushing. So in order to not get so caught up in the outward success pressure, you go inward and say, what is the richness of my life right now? Like, for instance, this morning I got up and looked out, and we have this beautiful flower garden that we've been working on. And luckily, May and June, we had the wettest months in the Colorado history. So we've had so much rain that we have beautiful garden flowers going. And there were so many butterflies out there and just looked like sparkling stars all over. And that's a richness of life right there. Okay. Abundance of the fact that I get to laugh out loud. I mean, to me, that's abundance to me, because there are people in this world that cannot laugh right now with the situations they're in. Okay. So really pay attention and notice what makes you, what is wellness to you right now? Well, wellness of your heart, wellness of your mind, wellness of the fact that you can show up to this call. You must have some kind of internet connections. That's something, right? So little things, pay attention and maybe redefine and balance out these three words: safety, security, and comfort. Okay. So safety of your house, safety of your neighborhood, safety that you feel within yourself, security of the fact that maybe you have money enough to pay for your rent, and comfort is like comfortable chairs, comfortable bed. It could be you feel comfortable within your own skin. Okay, so those are maybe things you want to actually contemplate over the full moon. Okay, that's going to really help this full moon not impact us in too much of a negative way. Okay, one thing I need to say is that moon, more you study the moon, more you communicate with the moon, you realize that the moon can be very challenging to your inner being because it challenges your subconscious. And so, a lot of people are like, oh, moon, yay, full moon is so pretty, take a picture, It's like in Japan, you do not take pictures of full moon because it'll take a picture of your inner self. And you may not be ready to see the dark side of you. Okay. So be very, very careful when you're studying moon, when you're starting to tune into the moon, because it will ask you to go deeper and you may not be mentally, physically, psychically, emotionally ready to do that dive. Okay. If you're ready, dive in, but just take these kind of small steps. All right. So it's a great reflection and refocus time. July is, but particularly during this full moon. And July is the halfway point, but I want you to kind of go back to December 23rd. That's when we had the new moon in Capricorn. Okay. So go back to your calendar right before Christmas. Okay. What was happening? What was happening in your relationship? What was happening in your work field? What was happening in your physical bodies? What has changed? Because the new moon to full moon, that cycles are very, very important in our bodies when it comes to the lunar cycles. Okay, we're not talking solar cycles, lunar. So go back to December 23rd of last year and reflect and then revisit and refocus that. And so don't get too caught up in job, career, outward success. I've already mentioned all this, right? And be a little more flexible. Okay. And this next week or so, be flexible, sway with the rhythm that is slowly starting this July for us. And don't get too grounded and anchored. Okay. So much of the spiritual practice is like, oh, let's ground. Okay. Well, we're in ascension rhythm. Okay, so you do want to experience the lift off also. You want to feel the lightness of being, not always the grounded and anchored self. So if your practice is always about grounding, this new moon, not new moon, this full moon is not the most, I wouldn't recommend it. Let's put it that way. I wouldn't recommend too much grounding work. I would do a little more swaying work. Okay. And in terms of, and I'm going to actually mention it here, areas of your body that you want to focus on is that it's the feet, but not in a sense of grounding. The areas of your big toe and inner arches, that area can be really, really fun to like massage and wiggle and things like that. So doing little toga, okay, so moving your toes and doing toga, great for this. The moon in Capricorn is great for that because it's impacting the legs because you don't want to get too rigid. Okay. So just remember what Capricorns look like, right? We don't want to get too solid. We want to have movements. Okay. We want to go and have the abilities to go swim in the water on the shore also. Okay. So work on your legs. Also inner calves can get a little bit tight during this full moon time. So do some massages. If you did my cleanse work, I showed you that powerful balancing your bladder line and then making your calves soft. I mean, that is like, that alone was worth that program, just so you know. Okay. I have never shared that. Yeah. Thank you. I've never shared that with anyone. It's a top secret of mine, but I had to share it. So, work on your calves. Inner calves can get kind of tight. Okay. So you might be noticing that. So one thing that you can do, all of you, is you can sit down on the floor, extend your legs in full extension, and pretend like you're swimming in a shallow water. Okay, so Capricorn tail is like swimming like this. Does that make sense? Like you're doing this motion with your legs. Okay, so that can be really good. You could do it in bed, you can do it lying down, but like sitting up and doing that. Straight legs. Okay, don't bend your knees and just go like as if you're swimming in the shallow part. Okay. And like I said, don't get too stuck or focus on the stability and grounding side of it. Okay, so let me see, look at my notes. Yeah, swings. Okay, remembering in order to get clear on. Okay, so I wrote down some notes here. The remember and yeah, remembering, because this month is a great month to not just revisit and then refresh your thoughts, but remembering what you value. So you're not simply putting efforts into something that ultimately it's somebody else's dream, okay? Or it's alignment with somebody else or something used to be you. So really sit down. What do you value the most? For me, what I value is nature. I love being out in the mountains. I love being in silence. We go up to our mountain place and we unplug our Wi-Fi's and we have nobody else's Wi-Fi. We get to listen to the thunderstorms coming in, hummingbirds, feeding off of our hummingbird feeders. We just saw a bear come up. We were taking videos and pictures, bobcat last month. I mean, that's what I value, really. Ultimately, if I had nothing else left in my life, I still will value nature. Okay. So what's important to you? And what has shifted for you? What's important for you is different than others, right? So, when you see new cars driving by in a highway, we're one of those people that never buy new cars. First of all, because the off-gassing is so bad for your health that we always buy used cars, so it doesn't impact our health. Okay, that's number one. But number two, new cars are not that important to us. Okay, we need a car that it will get us from point A to point B safely. New cars, who cares really? So, but depends, right? Maybe we have a neighbor that loves a new car. That couple changes their cars like every 6 months. So that's their value. Okay. My job is not to judge them. Okay. Yes, I did judge them a little bit here. But my job is not to get so stuck in my own judgment about that. That's what they value. That's all right. Okay. We have a friend that came over yesterday. He was so excited to show us his brand new BMW motorcycle. I am so excited for him. I am so utterly excited for him that he decided, I want to get a brand new motorcycle. That's what gives him the freedom, right? So depends on you. What's your vision? What are your dreams? What do you dream for? Remember July 7th, that's when you write your wishes and your dreams on a beautiful piece of paper, okay? And put it over one of your favorite tree branches somewhere. You've got to do it, okay? Because July 7th, the Milky Way in Japan, we consider it, Milky Way opens up. And this great river of Milky Way is passable by different galaxies. And there's this love affair that happens on July 7th of a prince and a princess, that they got separated by the cosmic river, okay, for whatever reasons, okay. They get to meet once per year on July 7th, and they get to come together. I know it's giving me a little chills, or, happy chills, okay. I'm buzzing all over because they get to meet on July 7th only one time per year. So please spend this full moon thinking about your dreams. Be that little girl and little boy, okay? And say, this is what I wanted. This is what I always wanted. Dream big, okay? This is not based on, well, this is what your dream should look like. This is what the success should look like, okay? You should never dream like that. That is beyond you, okay? No. The prince and princess, they dreamt this, and they get to come across that great big Milky Way, and they meet one another and they embrace for a one full day. Okay. So think of that, the dream that is that big. Okay. So if you have been out of alignment with the rhythm of life, then this full moon energy flow gives you a much needed reset and revisiting of your dreams and your vision. Okay. So I think that's what I have. And I've mentioned the, yeah, minerals and then whereabouts that the day it will show up. It's definitely going to show up on your lower legs, knees down. So massage your calves, work on your feet, do that little motion in bed or floor. Okay. Chris, you have anything else to add?
I would just add that, this whole thing about getting clear on what your dreams are, what your essence is, what it is that really speaks to you or sings to you or through you is so important. And one thing for me that I've been somewhat putting on the back burner for the last couple of years or so is how much I love to read. And I went back to, I have hundreds of books and I love books. I always have. And I went back, and especially these books about spirituality and some of the things that have really shaped who I am. I have a lot of them that I've read, and I have a lot of them I've never read. And I just made a commitment to say, you know what, this is actually important to me. I'm going to go back and just select the ones that speak to me, and I'm going to read them and enjoy them from start to finish, the whole thing. I'm not going to skip around anymore because I don't feel like I have time. I'm going to make time and really, really take in what it has for me. So that's for me part of what this looks like, in addition to what Masami said, being in nature and being responsive to whatever else is coming up in our lives, because of course we still have our ordinary lives that require attention and care, our bodies, our little details of daily activity. That still is there. That's good. Just show it some love from a place of maybe a little less serious, a little more relaxed, a little bit holding it with a looser grip. So yeah.
Yeah. It may sound kind of childish to write your dreams on a piece of paper and put it on a branch with a beautiful bow. Get yourself a nice little bow with it. Okay. Decorating a house like that, or, the tree. And you can have, Arlene asked, can I have more than one dream? Yes, you can have, because it doesn't really matter. Okay. It's like, dream it up. I think we don't do enough for that, dreaming up our lives in this world, especially as we get older, right? I've hit that, fifth, what is it, decade now, right? I'm into it already. It just feels like life's gotten too serious in some ways. And like I'm supposed to dream something that will give me some kind of a monetary, I don't know, reflections or something really screwed up like that in a way. So July is a beautiful month, especially with this full moon. You get to really dream it up. And it doesn't matter if they will come true exactly like you dreamt, but you're sending it out, like you're putting stars back into the Milky Way system. Okay. So add your dreams back into the sky, to the night sky, and have fun with it. Do it with your grandkids, do it with your, friends. Maybe the new friend I made today that's going to come over for 4th of July. I think she's from Japan. So I'm going to actually recommend that we do this together. So things like that. Okay. Enjoy, have a joyful moment with this full moon. Don't get too serious. Don't get into this, like, I must work hard to get there. Okay. Due diligence, doing work, putting your hours in. I get that. That's very, very important. Okay. But if that's all we did, we're going to go kaput. All right. Our machines are going to break. Our joints are going to dry out. So, and we're going to get very rigid. And that's what aging does. Okay. Definition of aging is dehydration and rigidity. Okay. When you get rigid in your mind, when you get rigid in your joints, when you dry out in your skin, your eyes are drying out, your skin is drying out, your hair is drying out, your colon is drying out, and you're constipated, well, you're aging. Okay. So bring dreams back in there and lubricate you. Okay. Bring juiciness back into you. That's what I think this full moon and this month is going to require from all of us. So we can shift away from survival mode, because I feel like we survived the first 6 months for most of us. Okay. To shifting to thriving. Let's juice up. Okay. Let's make it more wiggly. Okay. More fluid and movements. So that's what I have. If there aren't any questions, put it in the chat. We will stay for another 2 minutes. And then we can answer some questions. Thank you for all of you for the quantum sound therapy reviews here. I'm reading so many. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and I put the link back up there. And yeah, so Sue, Sharon, and Colleen, thank you for again. I wanted to
I wanna
just
read. Sharon says, I had a breakthrough from a lifestyle of surviving and problem solving to thriving and resonating with blue zones, happiness, community values. Well, that's great, Sharon. I know your quantum sound therapy is really, really helping you there too. And Sue, thank you for all your comments here. And Colleen too, she says, I used quantum sound in the background while doing my daily meditation and prayers and found it deepened and brought more focus to my sessions. I also found my ability to handle daily stressors and triggers was improved. I didn't respond to normal triggers as strongly and was able to reduce the duration of any stress. That's great, Colleen. Yay. Well, I love reading these. So, okay. Well, so I think that's all we have. I hope this was helpful for you. And it was really good to be with all of you again. It's been a while. So, all right. Well, so we will see you very soon, probably spontaneously. I will reach out. So, have a wonderful summer. And let's get the summer started with wiggling and juicing up your whole system. All right.